Thank you. As previously reported, the Select Board recommends this motion. This vote as a majority requirement. So as with the other sections, we are going to be looking at page 26, General Government, and going through those line items. And actually first, since it is the first item, Select Board Town Manager, I'm calling on Mr. Burkhart, who has asked to be called on to make a motion. Mr. Burkhart, you are recognized. Wait for a microphone or come forward, whichever you choose.
Michael Burkhart, Precinct 6. I move to reduce the general government's total appropriation of $6,483,937 by $85,901. This will reduce the appropriation for general government down to $6,398,036.
Do I hear a second? Second. Thank you. You now may speak to your motion.
The proposed hiring of an economic development director is clearly premature. It is a solution without a clear goal. Has the town defined what kind of economic development it truly wants? According to one expert on regional planning, development in Amherst is driven by two engines, the university and real estate. Given the proven ability of both these agents to do this by themselves, what is a new town-funded director of economic development expected to accomplish that these two engines cannot do for themselves? Amherst does not have a plan for economic development that was created via a broadly inclusive process that includes many residents from multiple neighborhoods, multiple income levels, and all age groups. You might hear that this position is necessary in order to implement the recommendations of the Town Gown Steering Committee. That committee was certainly a response to the university's concern about the lack of housing for students. While this committee might serve the university's needs, its final recommendations do not even include data about current or expected impacts on neighborhoods. The committee itself did not include any members who are low-income renters, excluding students, or young families looking to buy starter houses in Amherst. The final report supported the idea of more public-private partnerships that would develop student housing with businesses on site. Have we as a town decided that this is what we want? Given the ever-accelerating rate whereby houses are being turned into student rental housing, is this the direction that a majority of the year-round residents want? In their evaluation of the final report, two of the members of the Town Gown Steering Committee wrote the following, quote, "In the area of economic development, U3, which was the consulting group, put forth valid but overly conceptual ideas for enhancing the positive impact of UMass and UMass-based entrepreneurship on the Amherst economy, and did not provide insight targeted toward Amherst's unique location and size relative to this particular flagship state university. We support the Town Gown's efforts to expand economic planning beyond the issue of housing and recommend a more coordinated future joint planning structure for economic development than was present in the U3 report. We endorse the idea of a new joint planning committee, but urge a different structure that ensures inclusion of key stakeholders needed to ensure a process that receives broad support from Amherst citizens. I hope you will vote to strike this expenditure until we have created a comprehensive plan for development that is endorsed by a wide array of stakeholders that would include proportional representation of low-income renters, young families, and especially those who live here year-round. Thank you.
So hang on, just so folks understand the process. First of all, we now have two numbers before us. We have the higher amount, which is the Finance Committee amount, and then a lower amount, which is Mr. Burkhart's amount. So when we finally come to a vote, we will first vote on the higher amount. If that passes, we're done. If that fails, we then come to a vote on the lower amount. So that's how the final voting will work. What's going to happen now, I'm going to let committees and there's a couple people who have asked to be recognized if this motion was made. I'm going to recognize them and maybe a couple of other people to talk specifically about this, but then we're going to stop talking about this and move on to the rest of the line items just to make sure we've covered everything. Then we can come back to this later, but at that point in time, a motion for the previous question will be in order. That makes sense to everybody?